picking up the YouTube as well. So the broadcast has begun. Fantabulous. Welcome back. Get Vocal Fam, and the charity live stream is going to be going on YouTube in about 35 seconds. And once that kicks on, we will start our already in progress reading of, is it called Nadix and the Mechanites?
Yep.
Yep. We'll continue our reading of Nadix and the Mechanites. One moment while I talk to my tech crew. All right. Uranium or randoms. At the end of this story, Katie wants to cook some steak, and it would be good of us to eat. We're 6 hours in. So if you guys can find a reading that you want to do that might be a little longer, that will give us time to turn on the steam fans and cook and not make noise, and I'll just keep the microphone muted during that. So consider the readings you would like to do. Ooh. I am setting up the live stream for shift 4, and we save the details, and we go to that show, and we put the link to the donations in the chat because you always want your donation link present. Yay for 4 donators. We are making progress to our goals. Kobe, can you hear me, Kobe? I hope Kobe in the chat can hear. I was wondering if it was just me, says Asof Emma. Can you hear me now? I'm talking, I'm talking, I'm talking. Say again. YouTube sounds, my YouTube check sounds like it's working. That's good. Also, I saw Optimistic Lucio in the Get Vocal chat. Hey, yo, thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's see. Oh, yes, I was going to post the donation link. That's a good thing. We need to do that. And then I can put the link to Shift 4 on Twitter because we should have the link on Twitter. Shift 4 has begun. We are live. Welcome to Shift 4. Everyone's on board. The party's really cooking.
Hey. Hi, Random Jake.
Yes, hi. Before I start reading, hi, welcome. How are you doing? Now, I don't hear you, Randoms Jake.
Yeah, I'm having that problem, too.
I'm getting complete silence from you right now. I would check your sound settings. But in the meantime, I will also say welcome to the beginning of this stream. And while he fixes his sound, you should know that we are doing this 24-hour stream, of which we are 6 hours in, for the San Francisco LGBT Center. There's a link in the description of the YouTube video. There are links in the Get Vocal. And it is something that we all believe in here on the stream. And so if you will donate to that, we'd be much appreciative. We're going to be reading until the end of Halloween because of this. So I hope you guys are ready for a whole lot of SCP stuff. Randoms Jake, give yourself a sound check. I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear sounds. No! I see you have a very nice microphone, too. And so, depending on what browser you are using, you might need to use a virtual cable. I don't know, possibly.
Yeah.
Putting your microphone in Get Vocal specifically rather than the camera feed. If you fix a setting in Get Vocal, you actually have to like back out of your window to come back in. And sometimes you actually have to leave the room and reset your browser and come back. Oh, it sounds like something happened and he just found the answer. Yay, technical issues. That's what we're doing here.
What's a stream without technical issues?
Non-existent is the answer to that. Oh, man. Where was I? I think I was at The Sun Rose, Nadix, and Derdekius Walked was where I was before. So that's
Yeah,
where I will begin when
you
we're ready
ended
to
with
row.
like probably my favorite line from this piece. His chassis was warm.
Oh, that was, yeah. I felt emotions when I said that. It's fun. Sometimes it's like sight reading in music. Sometimes you're like doing your best to keep up with what you're reading. And so sometimes I'll like do an emotion and then the response, like he responded softly after I just yelled something. And so I don't, and so when that happens, I'm just like, oh man, I missed that. Oh well, keep going. But for some moments, you get lucky, and his chassis was warm was a really good moment.
God, do you want me to like talk about this after the reading is done, or?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If I got an author here and we tell their story, yeah, I want to hear all about it. I love that stuff. Behind the scenes, yo. Do me a favor, while we're doing sound checks for randoms, Uranium, can you mute your mic for a second?
Is my microphone working now?
Your mic is working. What I'm
Okay.
hearing is there might be a static, and I'm just checking if that's you. I think it might be your mic situation.
Jeez.
Or it might be mine. Let me see what happens. I'm hearing it from the YouTube chat that there's a crackling sound is why it is. So that's what I'm checking out. Oh yeah, it's just a little background noise from your microphone. That's okay. It's not overwhelmed.
All right. Sorry. The acoustics in my room aren't super great.
That's all right. Not all of us have voiceover closets.
Well, I just moved, so my new
Oh,
room
hey,
has-
Random can talk.
Yeah. My new room has terrible acoustics, so I have to like treat the entire thing. But I don't know. I'm still getting used to it.
I'm glad to hear you at all, my friend. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself to the screen for a moment before we get started?
Oh, yes. My name's Randoms Jake. I do SCP narrations on YouTube. And that's kind of it. Yeah.
What's the name of your channel?
The Randoms Jake. Same as my name, just with a "the" in front of it.
Nice. And that's Randoms with a Z for you guys out there because it's not showing up on the
Oh, it
YouTube
doesn't
video or
show-
little subtitles.
Yeah.
So
it's
yeah,
the Randoms with a Z and then Jake.
Sweetness. Cool. And I'm hearing that the crackle is coming from my mic, unfortunately. Well, that's what I get for having a nice mic in a house that I'm not acoustically done. I'm sorry. It's better when I'm in my voiceover closet that I'm not using because I can't put a camera in there. Okay, well, we'll just keep going with that. Let me try something. I'm going to try something. Let's see if I can... I've got sound in my microphone. I can hear myself right there. How does it sound? Maybe I'm helping that. Maybe I'm helping that.
Sounds good. But,
Sounds better.
Yeah.
Sweet. I just turned down the hit a little. You can still hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I just had my gain a little too loud. Cool. Thank you. Emma in the chat. You helped us with the sound quality, and that's very kind of you. Yay. All right. So now that we're all teched up, we got everybody online. Are you ready, guys, ready to continue the reading?
Sure.
What was the name of the tale? Just so I
Not
have it.
us in the Mechanite.
Nadix and the Mechanite, Part 2. Or, I guess, close to the end. The sun rose. Nadix and Derdekius, there we go. Nadix and Derdekius walked. Thank you again so much for your kindness. The fat man before them, who had pled with Derdekius to help him fix his cart, wanted to kill both of them. Ill intent boiled off his head like a ruptured cyst. He intended to do so in service to the Scarlet King. Nadix found it all very quaint. He would fail, of course. His poison would constrict the heart, of which Natix had several, and Derdekius one of bronze. Once that failed, he planned to eviscerate them with novice magics and parlor tricks. The farce would most probably end with Natix would swiftly decapitate him with a keratin blade, after which he would consume his flesh and be on his way. That was if Natix played along. He had far more important business to attend to, compared to humoring the follower of a fellow deific eunuch. There must be something, anything I could do to repay you. Natix was surprised, at least. Worship of the Scarlet King was traditionally restricted to the Davites. Its spread this far south suggested dreadful things, especially in absence of the coastline. The work of Archons? Bone merged and tore beneath Natix's robes. Natix silently prayed to Ion, and it was nothing. It was nothing. Derdekius had already finished repairs. You owe us nothing. Farewell and good travels. Derdekius turned to walk away, and Natix couldn't help but follow. Is he still following us? The fat man, Derdekius meant. His ill intent was conspicuous enough against the backdrop of Derdekius' warmth through the void of the wilderness. Natix had not gotten around to killing him yet. Later, perhaps. Derdekius would stop as dusk broke, out of misplaced courtesy. It mattered not. The fat man lacked the capacity to kill either of them. His approach was cautious. Natix knew he knew that they knew of him. Natix knew he knew that they knew of him, knew and could guess at his intent. The man supposed, and Natix and Derdekius knew, that such an attempt would be futile. Ultimately, however, Natix did not know why the man continued his approach. Heat and exhaustion looked to be wearing on him with each step, but the man continued regardless. His dedication was impressive, nearly compensating for his inabilities. Nearly. But Natix and Derdekius had time, while the man's mortality had been slowly robbing him of such from the day he was born. Time ran out a dozen paces from Natix and Derdekius, and the man collapsed. He'd die soon. The two of them would do well to leave him to his fate. Natix spotted Derdekius reaching for his water skin. The sun rose, and Natix, Derdekius, and Fang walked. As Natix meted out the coins necessary for provisions, his mind began to wander. It did that these days. The two, now three, were losing pace. Looking back on his travels, Derdekius had eventually signaled a suspicious uptick in progress. Even so, the addition of a third appeared to have spoiled. How much so, Natix was unsure. Measures of abstract were rarely quantifiable, especially when Natix himself seemed to be lacking the full context of the work ahead. The days were not growing shorter, Natix realized. He had just been forced to pay more attention to them. Derdekius had a clock that ran in months, Fang hours. If the toll of time was to be decried, it laid firmly on the lodestone of Fang. The easiest solution would be to kill him, and to continue without him. That somehow was also the hardest. With renewed attention to the sand through the sieve came the realization of the grains falling around his fingers. Day shone brighter. Sand ran hotter. The pleasant nausea in Natix's stomach, a nausea he hadn't quite noticed until late, roiled fiercer yet. Intensities he hadn't felt since Ion, since Natix had fought with someone at his side, since he had done more than just walking, reading, writing. Reunion with the complex depths of being. When Natix moved, he felt he left footprints, displaced grains, a slithering track. Natix left an imprint. Had he always left one? He must have. He must. Natix thought back to Derdekius. He found that his thoughts did not examine, compare, attempt to decrypt. Natix merely thought of him and felt fortunate. Davite twine torn at the edges of the holes it threaded through. It could not stop the curl of his lips. The transaction concluded, Natix walked back to his friend and follower. The sun rose, and Natix, Derdekius, Fang walked. When the sun next rose, Natix, Derdekius, Fang, and Jungsai walked. One day the sun rose to Natix, Derdekius, and their fellow travelers. Later, the sun rose to Natix, Derdekius, and their followers. Soon, friends, alkalites, acolytes, family. The sun set. Natix sat alone. Around him, followers set up their tents, counted their provisions, prepared for the coming night. A select few stayed awake, studied, theorized. Volutar mingled with Mechanite, mingled with Insomniac and Spirit and those passionate enough to sacrifice sleep for progress. Quietly, the world continued to turn for another night. Derdekius sat across from him, transcribing lessons, schematics, all he had gleaned over the day. Connections Natix had overlooked, conclusions divergent of the arguments Natix had drawn, pieces of the puzzle to synthesize with what was already written. For the first time in centuries, Natix allowed himself rest. Woo!
Good job.
Woo! That we made it. That was a good one. I am now going to like that. It is a tale, and people don't get to the end of tales. I've got a long tale that people haven't gotten to the end of very often. And so this is, thank you for bringing this up because I like doing this for people. Yay. All right, so tell me about this. Tell me all about this.
Oh, right. So this is made for CollabCon with Metaphysician. I, of course, when it comes to Metaphysician, there's two things he's known for. Three things, actually. His work on the Factory. Actually, just his work on the Factory, his work on Allegata, and the fact that he created Sarcasm. Sarcasm is an amazing GOI. It's what started as like, just fleshy bad guys, the people who like created and manipulate 610 for their own games, became like this whole culture of just, it's all really great. Of course, it's based heavily in Gnosticism. That's not the point. There's been kind of a like joke on the site of like, of course, like Sarcasm and Church of the Broken God don't get along well. But there's been kind of like this, I don't know if it's a joke or like, because like when it comes down to it, they do have like similar views of the cosmology. They've just come to different conclusions. So there's been a joke at like just belligerent sexual tension, romantic tension, things like that. I know that like Boomero and Ion was popular enough that Zhanga requested it in the art exchange, which led to ARD's Fantastic, the Man Machine. So when CollabCon came around, I knew I had to do something with that. Partnered with Metaphysician. After I partnered with Metaphysician, I knew I had to do something with that. Nanox and Derdekius is partially based on the story of David and Jonathan from the Torah. I'm Jewish, so like it's one of those things that's like important to me, I guess.
Well, it was an excellent story, dude. There were some real good feels in there, and that whole like violence turning to friendship, turning to brotherhood and family. Oh man, it's real nice.
Yeah. I always like have an associated song like with my things, like things I've written. This one is the only instrumental one I have. It's Bing Abi, a track from the Black Mirror OST, specifically 15 Million Merits, which was one of my favorite episodes of the show, like, ever. It's also incredibly dark, but Bing Obby is... I'm guessing we can't, like, stream that over Get Vocal without getting hit with some arcane copyright.
Yeah. Nice thing about SCP and the royalty-free stuff is we can always roll with Creative Commons.
Yeah, but it's just this very genuine, kind of sedate track.
Name it again so people can go check it later.
Bing Obby, BINGABI.
All
It's
right.
also linked in the author description.
Fantastic. All right. So, for our next story, do either of you have something you want to read?
I do have a story I found I think would be good and Halloweeny, but it's SCP-2523.
SCP-2523. Let me pull that sucker up. 2523. Every time we pull up an article, I'm always like in my head, please turn to page 2523 in your textbooks, and we'll begin. Ooh, this one's Halloween themed.
Ooh.
And
Oh,
it looks long enough for me to have some food. So this is doubly good for me. This looks like it'll last more than the 10 minutes we need to cook. Excellent. Cool. I am going to mute myself for a little bit so we don't make a bunch of noise on this reading. And you knock it dead, Randoms Jake.
Alrighty. Let me put on my narrator voice. All right. Item number SCP-2523. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Annually on August 15th, Mobile Task Force Omicron 13, Trick or Treat, is to be activated. MTF-013 must begin a full Class W amnestic treatment regimen no later than August 20th. MTF-013 will begin the Class W dosage ramp down no earlier than November 7th and will stand down no earlier than November 15th. Activation may be extended up to 90 days at the discretion of the SCP-2523 project lead. Further extensions must be approved by both the reporting HR supervisor and the reporting medical officer. Beginning on October 1st, MTF-013 will conduct 24-hour observation of 8 sites affected by SCP-2523, designated SCP-2523A through H, which will include the easternmost and westernmost affected locations, as well as one additional site chosen in each U.S. time zone. On October 31st, 1 hour prior to local sunset, MTF-013 will deploy a 2-man contact team into each designated site. As each location enters the anomaly, teams will confirm positive contact and passphrase with each other prior to carrying out mission operations. Contact teams are to be relieved every 8 hours for 24 hours. Ejected team members must be replaced immediately. All teams within the anomaly must confirm positive contact and passphrase during each relief or replacement. Team members are to attempt to prevent non-monetary purchases by civilians, using low-profile social engineering techniques only. In the event that a civilian engages in non-monetary purchasing, they are to ascertain the civilian's identity and origin point, and advise the support team. Support teams are to immediately locate and detain any civilians who have made non-monetary purchases. Purchased items are to be confiscated for study. Detained persons are to be interviewed and then released following amnestication. Ejected contact team personnel are to be immediately reclassified as Class E personnel. debriefed, and quarantined for 366 days at a location at least 50 kilometers from any key Foundation assets. Survivors may return to duty pending approval by the reporting medical officer. Currently, detention of SCP-2523-1 entities is not authorized. In the event that authorization is reinstated, entities are to be secured with restraints consisting of a minimum 75% iron by mass. Description: SCP-2523 is a phenomenon affecting seasonal Halloween costuming and decoration stores in the US and Canada from sunset on October 31st to sunset on November 1st. It is restricted to stores which are entirely seasonal and does not affect Halloween displays in more permanent businesses. While the anomaly is active, the affected locations become spatially
Collocated?
collocated, regardless of geographical separation. Store interiors will overlay where sufficiently similar. Similar display shelving will become a single shelf unit without duplication of products. Otherwise, the entire space expands as needed. Persons entering one location are able to physically interact with persons at all affected locations in real time and return to their place of origin when exiting. The affected locations remain open for the full 24-hour period regardless of posted hours. At sunset, 4 to 6 entities, designated SCP-2523-1, will appear and relieve all employees. Entities are diminutive humanoids estimated to be between 0.8 and 1.2 meters in height, with a variety of
Chimerical
features from various vertebrae, as well as limbs and extremities that vary in proportion. See Appendix A, SCP-2523-1 for additional detail. These entities carry out routine retail operations, except for attempting to persuade customers to make non-monetary exchanges. At the end of this 24-hour period, they are relieved by scheduled human employees who typically begin closing the store for the season. Exposed persons will rationalize all anomalous properties of SCP-2523, including those of trades, entities, and objects originating from the anomaly as entirely normal experiences. This effect extends to direct conversations with affected persons, as well as photographs and other direct recordings. This is the antimemetic effect that Class W amnestic treatment, combined with conscious reaffirmation of observed details, has been demonstrated to neutralize. When a customer attempts to purchase an item during the anomaly, SCP-2523-1 entities will attempt to persuade them not to use monetary means to purchase the item. Instead, the entity will ask for a trade. Entities have accepted physical objects as well as more abstract concepts as fair trades. This has included hair, personal abilities, years of life,